We put the GDV at 530. We had a big problem yesterday. We got an email, evaluations come in at 500.
Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot.
This is a 6-bed in Nottingham. This is the first of the 2 that we're going to show you. The other one is a 9-bed HMO in Nottingham Article 4 as well. This one was actually brought to us by a sourcer. They brought us this deal. We passed up on it and we just said, no, we don't want it. So 3 weeks went by and then I thought to myself, we really need a deal. Maybe I should look back at that deal that the sourcer sent me. So I looked back at it and I was like, that's actually a bargain. Like, it was a really good deal. We brought it for 205. It was an existing 5-bedroom HMO. Because it's Nottingham Article 4, it needed the planning permission. So we checked the online portal and they had actually applied for the planning permission. So we got it accepted under the condition that the planning permission has to be accepted before we buy it. But we made a big mistake. Yeah, we didn't view it. So we got it accepted, we purchased it, and we didn't view the property. And then what happened was the builder turned up on day 1 and she said to us, what are we doing about all of the structural stuff, all the structural problems that you got wrong with the house? And we was like, what structural stuff? There's nothing wrong with it. And she's like, you've not viewed it, have you? And we said no. So she sent us a picture of all these red things outside. And I'll be honest, I thought it was just for decoration. I thought, oh, they look nice, but they're actually structural ties. So they structural ties on both of the floors, and it ties this side of the building because it's an end terrace. All of the weight is leaning against it. So these ties go through to the other side and they're just holding the building together. So once we realized we had structural problems, we had to get out the structural engineer, we had to get a load more steels put in, and there was a lot more hidden costs that we just didn't account for from the start. So that actually cost us, was it an extra 20 or 25,000 pounds? Yeah, an extra 25,000 pounds, which is not a problem for us because of the portfolio that we've got. We can sustain that. But for any of you guys, you've got to be viewing properties, yeah, because if you don't, because like, it's very easy to just look at a house, look at the pictures, look at the floor plans and say it works. Yeah, and we've done that many times. There's loads that we've not viewed, but this time something did crop up, and it can crop up with you guys as well. So our advice is always view it. And you're going to want to view it anyway because you want to build your experience, you want to view all the rooms, you want to measure all the rooms, you want to measure your floor to ceiling heights and also your loft. We put a little bit of an extension on the back. We've moved the entrance, so as you can see we've bricked up the old entrance, and this is now a new entrance which is coming in the middle. The starting square meterage on this one was around 130. Yeah, let's go into the first studio. I don't think we're going to fit everyone in the rooms. So our minimum standards that we need a HMO room in Nottingham is 14 square meters. A lot of you guys will probably be the same. It's either 13 or 14 square meters. But what you can actually see now is this is bang on 14. So you can see how a studio style room is going to look like if it's 14. The kitchens, I quite like the design. If I'm honest, I quite like the mat. We always go for the handleless. These are just J handles. Sometimes they'll cost a little bit more, but there is less wear and tear. When you're pulling on the handles, they can sometimes break, especially over the years. What we've been going for recently as well is integrated extractor fan. Yeah, so we used to go for like the silver, chrome, big cooker hood. But I just think it looks so much better when it's integrated. When you come to like a kitchen design, we've not really done it in this kitchen as much, the communal kitchen, which we'll show you in a minute. But really you want everything symmetrical. So if you've got like your cupboards and then you've got a gap within the cupboards because you've got your chrome extractor fan, you're just creating that little bit of a break. So really, if you're having like a long kitchen, you want it all just to be straight up there, and then obviously straight with your units as well. In here, we always go for built-in wardrobes as well. So usually I used to think a built-in wardrobe, it's like a nice big glass thing, really expensive. It's not the case. For us, we put a stud wall in. This one's a little bit different to the one you're going to see next, because this one we've gone for like an open style. And I'll be totally honest with you, the only reason we've done that is just to save some money. So I think we pay for this sort of like built-in wardrobe around £300. If we have like the architrave and the doors on there, which do look better, and it's better for the tenants, to be fair, because if they cook in, they might get like the smell on the clothes and stuff, and it's probably going to cost around 400 to 450. But because of all of the structural stuff that we come across, we had to just cut some funds. But what we always put in is a shelf, so they can put like any suitcases or anything in. We also put in a handrail, but we also make it big enough to put in a chest of drawers, because if the chest of drawers couldn't have fit in there, there's nowhere else in the room that it could have gone, so it just would have been taking up space.
I speak to you outside, weren't I, about doing the extra rooms, and he said about going 7 and 8, and I said over time we've noticed that tenants would rather less people share the house
Yeah.
and bigger rooms.
Yeah.
Because if you think this is their home, this one room. So if you're giving them poxy little rooms with no storage, they're obviously not going to stay there.
I think just to add in, when it comes to the kitchenettes as well, if you do get some kind of backlash, just try and define with whoever's backlashing, whether it's the HMO officer, whether it's building control, on exactly what their issue is. So obviously, you know, even just recently, there was a mention of no cookers in the studios, in the kitchenettes. So, right, okay, define that cooker, and it was an oven. So that's in an area that I'm operating in, hence why I've then gone, okay, air fryers.
Yeah.
I've still got the hobs, still got the air fryers, still got the fridge and the freezer, and I've still got a microwave. But I obviously overcome that obstacle just by doing that.
But we used to get 2 lots of bedding, keep that bedding and take it around all the houses, and the photographer used to come in, take pictures of the bedding in 2 rooms, then they used to move it, take pictures of the other rooms. So you're not buying 6 lots of bedding because you just don't need it because you don't provide it. What we started to do recently, and that used to cost us £500, is take pictures of the rooms, put it into ChatGPT, ask it to dress the room and make it look like a professional photographer's took it. So this room that we stood in, that's what ChatGPT created. So we don't need a professional photographer. We can start advertising earlier in the build. So like 3 weeks prior to it finished, we can start advertising with the ChatGPT pictures. It will allow us to get tenants quicker. It saved us £500 and it done it for all of the rooms and it's fucking free. But this communal is only for 2 tenants. So because everyone else has got their own kitchen, no one else needs space in here. What we always like to do anyway is just create like a breakfast bar area just so they can sit, chill, watch a little bit of tele, maybe work. But where this is situated, this HMO, it would appeal to students and it would appeal to professionals as well. We've gone to the professionals. If we wasn't doing professionals, what we probably would have done is just had ensuite rooms and had a big communal. So we probably would have had this as the kitchen and then that back bedroom there would have been a living room, because students want to socialise, congregate, maybe do a little bit of fucking partying, but professionals just keep themselves to themselves. So not many people is actually going to use this space, so it's more than adequate for the tenants that are using it. So what you want in all of these HMOs is, and a good way to like weed out a good builder from a bad one is if you're speaking to a HMO professional builder and they say they've got a lot of experience, the first thing I ask is what heating system would you put in? Some of them would say a combi boiler, not big enough. Some of them would say 2 combi boilers, definitely not good enough for these HMOs. The answer that we're looking for is a cylinder. Yeah, so we have a cylinder which stores a lot of hot water, so it's constantly got demand for all of the tenants using it. And then what we have is a system boiler, which is actually situated up there in a cupboard. But really we need to be looking for a 300 litre cylinder for a 6-bed anyway. And we always mainly want to upgrade the incoming water pipe as well. So a lot of them will have like old, I think it's like 22mm copper, is it, Reese?
It could be lead, all sorts. Yeah.
Lead,
I can't remember the size of it, being honest, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them will be lead, a lot of them will just not be big enough for the demand. Because you might have the best boiler, you might have the best cylinder, but if you've not got enough pressure coming in, then the top room is going to suffer the most and the shower is just not going to be very good and you're going to get complaints. I'm 90% sure on this. We advertised all of our rooms at the same price, did we?
I think Eve did, yeah.
All of the studios at the same price. That was a mistake on our behalf. This is a better room, bigger room, separation. We probably should have put this for £50 more than the rest of them. But when you've got the square rooms, like the studio that you've seen downstairs, it's nearly impossible to do it unless you put in that partition wall, and then it can sometimes make your room feel small. So what a lot of people will do is their partition wall will be the slats that you can see through. So it's still a big room, you can still see the kitchen, but at least there's some sort of divide and separation from the kitchen to the living area, which we could have done here to be fair, but we put in a solid wall because we wanted the bed to back up on it, the feature wall on there as well, and then everything's just then totally separate, which just creates a better livable space. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the numbers. We got this brought to us £205,000, which is what we purchased it for. We actually spent 185 on it, but we had a quote from day one at 160 because we only had a small extension. We didn't have a loft conversion. 160 was going to be enough to do it, but then we spent an extra 24,000 on the structural stuff. The upfront costs on the left section, as you can see, like we use the exact same spreadsheet that we've took you guys through and then what you guys have got as well. We've got furniture in at 8K, which is roughly what we do spend on a 6-bed HMO. I think 2 of the rooms are already secured, aren't they, Bray?
Yeah, this room and room 1, 850.
And the ensuite, so we're advertising them at 700.
750.
So yeah, so we're pushing for a little bit more. What you will see here is we put the GDV at 530. Yeah, we had a big problem yesterday. We got an email, evaluations come in at 500. Yeah, we put in for 550. We know it's worth 550. We definitely should have got 550. And over 6 beds that we're working on at the minute and have refinanced over the past few weeks have come in at 517. And they're not even Article 4.
With the same value.
With the same valuation company. So if you are outside of Article 4, you do expect a higher yield, which brings your valuations down. If you're inside Article 4, generally you should be getting a bit of a lower yield, so your valuation should be going up.
This is Article 4.
This is Article 4, but they've used the same yield outside as inside, yeah? And they've actually valued this, although it's in a prime location and better than our other ones, lower than what the other ones are. So we're leaving a substantial amount of money in this deal.
Typically, obviously I'm not talking this specific one, but just for everybody else's awareness, because everyone always panics when they get the pre-val. Oh shit, it's not a deal. My pre-val's coming here. It is normal to get a pre-val should I say, when you're going through that deal. So as long as obviously you've still got that capital to obviously go into the deal and make it work. Once you've got the ASTs in place, because most of the time they're not questioning, a lot of the time they're not questioning the yield, a lot of the time they question the rents achievable, but on the back end you've got obviously those ASTs that you can obviously provide to the valuer, so therefore you've got that hard evidence, and then it's just using their formula on that yield.
But the be all and end all is they're easy to sell. Now the reason they're easy to sell is because they produce so much income. This one is going to produce £57,000 every single year. So there's so many southern-based investors who purely buy based on yield and based on income.
Yeah.
So most people want to buy on an 8% yield. If you put an 8% yield on £57,000, it's going to bring it to around 650. So if we was to sell it for, let's say, 570,000, that's a 10% yield. Any investor who knows anything about finance is going to buy an asset at 10% yield, because that is just really, really a good return. We actually sold one on this road. We brought it for 215. We only spent £10,000 on it because the tenants wasn't paying much money. We put new carpets in, new furniture, new paint. I think it was like £10,000–15,000 we spent.
We didn't even do all that.
Some of the furniture stayed. Yeah, some of it stayed. And then we sold it within 6 weeks for £437,000. So we'd made around 200 grand just by kitting it out, putting in high paying tenants, because we knew someone was going to buy it based on the yield. And we sold it on, I think it was like an 8% yield. Southern-based investor, off-market, they paid in cash, it sold in 6 weeks, and we
And
were
we got
off
the
with money.
certificate of lawful use.
Yeah,
on
we
that.
had to get the
Why
correct...
did that previous owner not do that? Why did they not just sell it themselves?
'Cause
He-
they did, they sold it to us, but
Yeah.
they didn't have the certificate of lawfulness, and it's
Okay.
Article 4.
Yeah,
They
so it was-
didn't have the correct planning in place, so we got that in place.
That's
So
what I'm
anyway-
viewing one on Monday or Tuesday in Derby, and that's a HMO 6-bed without planning, and it's knackered.
And what's it being sold for?
I think it's like 250, 225
Yeah.
or something.
So we know 6 beds are worth about 500.
Well, that's it, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we're getting valuations for. So simply planning
Yeah.
application.
Planning application,
Yeah, and-
making the rooms nice.
Mhm.
Not, if you're buying 6 beds, because that's what you can do, that can be someone's strategy. Buying 6 beds at 250k, because straight away you're like, I know what 6 beds are worth. Yeah, I just know what
Exactly,
income...
reconfiguration a
Yeah,
little bit, yeah.
I know what income I've got to produce over this HMO to get a 500k valuation. You might not need to go into the loft, you might not need to put en suites, you might already have all of
Floor
that.
space. It's like 130 odd square metres or something.
So you've just got to upgrade it, get high paying tenants in, get a commercial val, and that's your value add. So people who don't know Scott, he's been with us since last January, right?
Yeah, it started last year.
Yeah. He actually got in touch with us, and he was living in Sheffield, and he said, look, I've come from Scotland with my missus, I want to do property. We're in a bit of a bad situation financially, like I really want more, but I'm a lifeguard. Your words was, we're living on 67p fucking microwave
He would
meals.
always make fun of me from my ready meals. I was the essentials.
But he got in touch with me, honestly, and he said, right, I want to do your mentorship. And he actually paid for the mentorship on a credit card. Yeah,
I
and
took a screenshot of my bank account. I had £34 left in it, and I was like, I'm going to bet myself all or nothing. That's
yeah.
it.
So he jumped on board, and I was like, I've got to fucking help this guy. Like, he pulled on my heartstrings. I was like, I'm going to take
We
this
was
guy
nearly
from...
crying, weren't
Yeah,
we?
I was like, I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to hopefully
It's
make
like
him
a charity
financially free.
case.
Yeah. So since
nice
then,
to
he's
do
fucking
that.
done loads. Like, you're now
Yeah.
sourcing deals to investors for 30 grand.
Well, I've maxed out the investor list now, so I've got a waiting list now. So, and then that means I'm closer to doing my own portfolio.
No, we said Scott's book, he needs to bring out a book one day, and it needs to say
Definitely.
from haggis to caviar.
Yeah, I got a screenshot when he onboarded me as a mentee. He said that.
Again, it was an existing HMO. This one was actually on the market. No one wanted it. No one seen the value. Yeah, and it was being sold for 325k, and it was on there for a while. It had been sold, it had come back, it had been sold, it had come back and it got reduced, and then it had been sold again, and then it had come back. That's our trigger point. So when we're looking at Article 4 deals and we're seeing stock come on for expensive, get sold, come back, get sold, get reduced, we're like, there's something wrong with that we can add value. So we looked into it, looked on the planning portal, and there was no planning permission. So what was happening was people was getting it accepted, they was going to the lending stage, the lenders were saying, where's the planning permission? And they were saying, oh, it hasn't got that, but it's got a HMO license. Not good enough. So they pulled out of the deal. Then it come back to the market. Happened like 3 or 4 times. And until no one wanted it because they just didn't know what to do with it. So it had 9 tenants in. It is a 9-bedroom HMO. Ray is very good at putting the planning in. And when it comes to planning in Article 4 and existing HMOs, in Nottingham, if you can prove it's been running as a HMO for the past 4 years, licenses, AST contracts, pictures of doors, previous advertisements, and you can showcase that to the planning department, then they're going to accept it. Not many people know how to do that. So that's why it was going and coming back, because no one knew how to put a certificate of lawful use in, which is what it's called. So we got it accepted, but we said we're getting it accepted subject to getting the correct planning permission. So from the stage of getting it accepted, Ray was then gathering all of the evidence, getting in touch with the seller, getting in touch with the agent, getting all the AST contracts, getting all the licenses, putting together a case with the certificate of lawfulness to say, it's been run as a HMO for the past 4 years, here is all of the evidence, can you accept it or not? And they did, but we knew it already had 9 bedrooms, and what our strategy was with this is, it wasn't achieving much per room because it was in a shit condition, no en-suites, no studios. So the value add for us is, well, we know it's going to get valued based on the income. We can get 9 tenants. We've got to get high-paying tenants. To get high-paying tenants, it's got to be nice. For it to be nice, it's got to have en-suites and studios. So we went round, measured up. We've got en-suites in where we could. We've got studios in where we could. We managed to get 4 studios. It actually is on these numbers 5. 4 studios and 5 bedrooms with non-studios, but some of them bedrooms are also small. So the 4 that are small are going to be sharing 2 bathrooms, which are on the 1st and 2nd floor, I believe. And then, so what we've done is, on the other rooms where we could, put an ensuite in, and then where we could, we've put studios in, and we're adding value that way. So there's 5 tenants, which are, like I said, sharing the bathrooms, and then this is going to be the communal for the 5. This actually says it's 20.4 square meters. We're going to have the kitchen run all the way along there in like an L shape, and then we're going to have a sofa here. There's going to be a TV up on that wall, so it's still going to be a nice little space, because if it's 5 people sharing it, do you know what I mean? We do want to provide a good space for them.
What was the original floor size for this one?
I think it's around 170. I may be wrong. It might actually be bigger than that, to be fair, but I'm almost sure it was around 170. But we purchased this one for 325k. We got the build. Is it 120k, Ray, or 130? Yeah, I think it was 120, and this is going to revalue around 750,000. From a 325 purchase, spending just over 100k to then getting revalued at 725, no one could see that value add. No one could see that gap. To us, that's such a big fucking gap that just from a little planning gain and upping the rents on the rooms, it's just ridiculous. Obviously, we'll have a lot of equity within here as well, but you'll see a lot of people saying, oh, you're getting these commercial valuations, oh, you can't sell them for what they're valued for. A lot of the time, that is bullshit, in my opinion. There is certain locations you can't. Derby is an example. You probably can't sell it at the minute for what it gets valued for. In a couple of years, you will. But in Nottingham, in an Article 4 area, it's very easy to work out. You look on the market, you look at what they're selling for on the sales market, HMOs, what yield they're selling for, and it's generally going to be lower than what they get revalued for. So it's going to make 79,800 every single year in gross. So if it's a 10% yield, sales yield for Nottingham, we could sell this for nearly 800k, which I am confident that we can do that. We're going to have a loan on it at 544. We can potentially make 250k if we didn't want to hold this. You know, so even if like I was in the market to maybe do some flips or something, it's still worth keeping an eye on the market, run down HMOs, adding a little bit of value, and then putting it on the market for a 10% yield, because I really do think this would get snapped up. And just by knowing these strategies, knowing what they sell for, knowing how to add value, and knowing what an investor is going to buy for, you're going to make so much more profit than if you're doing like a flip and making 30, 40 grand on a buy-to-let. Because the value add is just insane. Like the one we done on the last street, we sold for 200k profit. No one is doing that. But this is what we like about HMOs. There's so many little income streams that you can create from it. Buying them, developing them, selling them. Sourcing them and developing them for investors, like Scott's doing and making 30 grand a deal. Or buying them, refinancing them and holding them in your portfolio. Or even if you buy them, do them up, and then you go to refinance and you just don't get the valuation you want, no problem. I'll put it on the market. I'll sell it for a 10% yield if that's what it is for the area. And I'll make, I don't know, 80, 120k. Like, it's better than a fucking 30 grand flip profit, right? So it's a very good strategy to have, and that's what I really like about HMOs. There's so much diversification, but you will also get to a point where maybe you've got 4 or 5 HMOs and you're doing it full time, you've quit your job. You should always, in my opinion, because property and holding a portfolio is going to bring you wealth, it's going to bring you a lot of cash flow, but a lot of that gets reinvested for the first few years. Whereas if you're doing it full time, a part of you is going to be thinking, I want rewarding now, I want nice things, I want fucking to go on holidays, I want freedom now, rather than waiting for the next 3 or 4 years. So there is other strategies where it's like, I can work on a profit strategy as well, not just a cash flow strategy. That's when you should be looking at things like this and thinking, I know how to do this. Not many people do. There's not many people in England doing this niche strategy of creating like the studio style rooms. That's just the truth of it. In East Midlands, there's quite a lot of studio rooms. Derby, Nottingham, not as much. But you go up to Manchester and Liverpool and down south in Gillingham, Ipswich and stuff. That's where we work with loads of mentees. We're constantly studying the market, looking on spare room. There's no kitchens in bedrooms. No one is doing it. And it is the next evolution of HMOs in my opinion, and investors will buy for that. And there's just so many other like side strategies that can stem off knowing how to develop these. Because it is easier. Like we're orchestrators, right? We're just the person in the middle saying, architect, solicitors, you do that. Builders, can you quote for that? And then when we're building it, then it's like, broker, can you do that? Getting the right valuers in place. We don't have to know any more than any of these other investors because they know a lot about their strategy. But if they knew a lot about this one, they could be making a lot of money off it. But just a lot of people are, maybe not even against HMOs, but think they're too complicated. They're not any more complicated than doing a fucking flip. Like we've been doing buy-to-lets recently, and yeah, they are easy, but we're like, it's not any more different. Like we're working on a pub, which is going to be 13 studios in a HMO and 2 commercial shops at the bottom, GDV of something like 1.3 million. And a lot of people would be looking at that thinking, oh, you must know a lot to do that. Oh, there must be so much more work. It's just numbers. It's the same as doing a 6-bed.
Just
Buying,
an extra bedroom.
yeah, literally. We're organising the same people. And more money is involved, yeah, so we have to get bigger investors involved. But other than that, we don't have to know anymore about the building, about the regs, about the licenses. It's just the same process on a 6-bed. One of the things that we have to get good at is raising the funds. Yeah, marketing ourselves on social media. You've got to get yourself to a position where it's like, I just don't give a fuck what everyone else is thinking because their opinions is not going to fucking give me freedom. It's as simple as that. There is going to be people who mock you, take the piss out of you, comment on your shit and talk behind your back and get jealous and bitter, but it's just a part of the fucking process, right? We've just got to market ourselves, follow the process, and if they don't like us, it is what it is. There's so many people who don't like me. People have said to me, and Ray, I'm investing in you, but not because of you, Justin, because of Ray. And I was just sat there like, sad. Yeah, but that's just going to be the fucking case. No, I don't think it is. There's so many people who don't like me. They probably look at my stuff and they're like, look at this fucking idiot. But here's the thing, I don't give a shit. Yeah, and that's just the way you've got to be. I used to give a bit of a shit, but the quicker you get to the point where it's like, these aren't going to fucking give me freedom. That's the quicker we can get to the people who are actually going to give a shit about us, and we can help each other. When we're working with investors, we're bringing them something, they're bringing it us.
And then they start telling their networks, that's what I've noticed.
Exactly. It snowballs every time.
It's like that guy, 100 grand in the bank, had it there for a year plus now, you know, he's still got 100 grand in the bank. Great, he's depreciated over time.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, if he invested, he would have 110, 120, whatever it would have been.
Exactly. Just tell him, look, I'm going to pay someone. Someone's getting paid out of this. Like, I'd rather it be you because I care about you and you're a close friend and family. And I know in a year's time the money's going to be sat in your bank. Now, let's get earning it some more money before I pay you a randomer. Price point, you set up your search, your right move criteria, right? I need to buy here between 160, 190. I don't want to see anything above 200, it's not going to work. If that was the case here, and I had my search criteria set up for that, I wouldn't have seen this. And most people are probably in that situation where they're not seeing the bigger stock.
That's how I found the one on Tuesday. I just upped the price.
Exactly.
And then I was like, holy shit, all these like opportunities
Yeah.
are showing themselves.
Yeah. There's a bracket for the cheap stuff where you spend a lot of money, but there's also a bracket for the expensive stuff where you could spend considerably less. The only thing is with spending considerably less and buying more expensive, I do generally think you don't have to go back to brick. On here, we went back to brick, but I didn't want to. Did we go back to brick on here, Ray?
I don't think you did.
No, we didn't go back to brick. No, that's why we kept it so low, yeah. So 9 beds for 120. Like, doing a 6-bed, not going back to brick, the square metres is already there. You're looking at about 100k.
Because I always think back to brick. And that's just another like a myth bust, you know?
And I have as well. We've actually brought nice houses where it's like, it feels like a shame to rip out this kitchen, rip out this bathroom, take all the plaster off the wall. And looking back, I'm thinking, We didn't need to. We didn't need to go back to brick.
Is this just had a reskin then?
Yeah, just a reskim on the original walls. But a lot of houses do. Like, you only have to go back to brick if your walls are fucked. Other than that, if it's generally all right plaster, yeah, and you can just skim over it and you think it's going to look good, I really don't think you should be going back to brick. The problem that we have is builders will try and talk us into it because it's easier for them. They get a bit more money, of course, but like then they haven't got to chase out channels. Everything's clipped to the wall, and especially if they're lowering floors and stuff anyway, a lot of the plaster is going to come off. So you might not actually save too much in that scenario. But this one, we probably saved £15,000. The reason being is if we would have gone back to brick, we then have to bring it up to the new building control regs. If we have to bring it back up to the building control regs, because this is an external, it's an end terrace, we've got so many external walls, they would have had to have been firmly insulated on the inside or outside to bring it up to an EPC of a C. So we would have lost space in the rooms, plus them thermal boards are expensive, but by us not going back to bricks, we can, anything we install or anything that's existing can be the old building regs and we'll still get it signed off. So by keeping it, we've probably saved 15k, I would say. Yeah. It will be less energy efficient, admittedly, because now we're not insulating the external walls. So our bills may be £100 more expensive a month, but it's still a good deal for us. As long as we're putting a good heating system, it's something we can keep track of. And in future, if we wanted to externally insulate it, it's something we can potentially consider to save bills. But I still think we'll get it to an EPC of a C. You just got to know a dodgy EPC guy. No, no, no.